welcome to another episode of Wellness for Powerful Women. I'm so excited for today's episode. I was just like, I had to talk to this woman. I had to bring her on because she is amazing, especially when it comes to our topic today. So, just wanted to do some housekeeping first. We'll talk for about 20 minutes. If you have any questions, you could ask some questions at the end by raising your hand to speak. If you want to ask Crystal some questions live. But anyway, there'll also be a replay available on my YouTube channel. So today we are going to talk about intuition. Like, this is a big thing for anyone who's doing a business, anyone who has an amazing dream that they want to pursue. But I feel like it can get kind of elusive. So I have someone who is an expert at intuition to kind of fill us in on that and help us with that. So Crystal, would you mind introducing yourself and letting us know who you are and what you do?
Yes, for sure. Thanks for having me, Charmaine. I am so new to LinkedIn that I had to figure all of this out in the last few days. I was like, yes, I want to be on LinkedIn. I want to do this interview. So I'm excited. Traditionally, I'm a parenting coach. That's what I typically do. Within my parenting coaching, I teach parents how to parent in a different way than the generations that have come before us. And that way is very connection-based, relationship-based. It is like anti-behaviorism, which has been the norm for decades. And it is lovely. And it really starts to heal those relationships we have with our kids and helps us enjoy parenting so much more. Because sometimes we want to enjoy it and we show cute pictures of us enjoying it. But inside we're actually really not enjoying it very much. So that's what I help both moms, dads, couples with. But on the journey to kind of get to this space, one of the things that I really started to see was that this parenting style was very intuitive, as in when we have a clean mind and we're making our decisions from kind of a clean brain space, when you talk about mindset and whatnot, that everybody has their own inner intuition, like their own inner parenting expert, and it would kind of guide them into their own unique answers. Instead of having to ask me or ask a friend or read a book, they would be able to discover their own answers that worked so much better than anything anybody else could have told them. So as I'm learning all of these things about parenting and helping people kind of tap into this intuitive side of themselves, I started to realize that the same principles can be applied to business. So I started applying intuition, which is one of the pillars that I teach within my parenting programs, to my business also. And I just thought, what other areas of my life can I apply this to? And so I started applying it to every area of my life. And it has been such a ride. And my business has changed 180 since I started running an intuitive business. Because I was really following all the gurus that you see online, right? I would go to all of the free events and I would just write down everything they would said and I would implement every strategy that they talked about. So I listened to Russell Brunson and Amy Porterfield and Grant Cardone, and I'm reading their books and I'm going to their free master classes and I'm writing down things and I'm implementing all this stuff. And my first year I was just working and working and working and really overworking for what I had the energy for. I should also mention, because I didn't introduce myself well enough, that I homeschool 4 kids.
Oh,
so
snap.
my kiddos, my youngest is 7 and my oldest is 16. And homeschooling is something that I knew that I didn't want to give up when I started my business 3.5 years ago. So I was always wanting to balance this and not really finding this balance. So I'll give you an example of what an intuitive business looks like in not this January, but the January before. Everybody's talking about business goals, and I run my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm sitting down trying to decide what I want my business goals to be. And my intuition kept nudging me and saying, you need to work less. That should be your business goal. It shouldn't be a money goal. And I'm no, you got to set a money goal. And I need to break it down into quarters. And then I need to break those quarters down into months and weeks and steps and have this rigid plan. But at that time I had really leaned more into intuition and all these other areas of my life. And so I knew that it was my intuition for sure telling me that it needed to be a time goal. And so in January 2022, I set my business goal to be, I wanted to work 15 hours a week or less. And at that time I was probably close to 20 to 30, depending on if I had a launch or not, and definitely burnt out and feeling unaligned. I wasn't able to show up in my motherhood, in my family, as a homeschool mom, and all the roles that I play in the way that I wanted to. And to me, mastering what it is that I teach is equally, if not more important than teaching it to others. And I found that I wasn't doing that in the way that felt aligned to me, and in the most way that I could, I guess. So I set this goal. I went to the Life Coach School Mastermind in April, and was listening to everybody talk and walk across the stage and making millions and chatting with people, and everybody worked so much. I don't know if I chatted with anybody who had a time goal that was like, I only want to work a little bit, like I want to work less. And anyways, everybody worked so much, and I just decided that that wasn't how, which is fine for them because they love that and that was their passion, and it is also my passion, but equally is my passion to be the kind of parent that I'm teaching people about and to homeschool. So I kind of looked at all of that and came home and reassessed and was like, I think I need to even like decrease it less than 15. And so I made school then to be like 10 to 12.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So by June, I was at 15. By September, I was at 10 to 12. And I just kept pulling back, restructuring pretty much everything in my business in order to do so. And last year, at the end of last year, I think it was like late December, early January. Because I'm so intuitive in my business, I'm not always great with numbers. So my husband has to sit down and be like, okay, so this is how much money you were making, or this is what, anyways. So we sat down and had one of our little chats, and I'm like, can you figure out how much money I made last year? And the year before, I had made, these are Canadian numbers, but I had made somewhere between like 40 and 60 the year before. And last year I made somewhere between 80 and 90.
Oh shit.
So I almost doubled it.
Right.
Working 50% of the time.
What?
Right?
I don't even know how. We're gonna ask questions about this for sure, but I think this is so, I love your story, and I love how real you are, because like that you're a living example of this. Like, first of all, I love that you're in integrity of what you teach as a parenting coach. And secondly, I think so many of us are scared to lean into intuition because we have that conditioning that we have to work hard, we have to struggle to make a lot of money. But I love that you knew for yourself that wasn't working for you. You were honoring your intuition, and then when you followed that, you actually made more money and worked less, which is like awesome.
Hey, and I have to say, even more than the money that I made, which was like awesome, but I didn't even know that I made that much money. I was just kind of going and following my intuition and whatever. I took like an entire 6 weeks off of social media and my podcast. I like took a 6-week break from my podcast, 6-week break from Instagram, which is where most of my clients come from, is both of those two sources. Didn't email my list or anything for that time. I prepped everybody and said, like, I'm taking this break. Didn't work at all. We traveled for a month. And throughout that whole year was taking like fairly extended breaks to go like travel or be with my kids or do whatever. So even within that, there was lots of weeks where I wasn't working pretty much at all, just doing like the bare minimum. So, I spent more time outdoors. I got into meditation. I spent more time reading, doing the things that really fuel me energetically so that I could show up in business in a different way. And I think that's what made such a difference, because my energy was in such a different space. And I completely changed the way that I coached also. I used to really follow this pretty rigid structure that we learn in the Life Coach School. And it was really helpful to a point, but I knew that there was more that was needed for me. And so I started taking more courses, more training, more learning, more life experiencing, and really pivoted the way that I coach as well, and the way that I kind of do my own self-practice as well. So many things changed over that year. And that was, I think, that was the beginning of 2022. And so in January this year, I'm like, okay, intuition, like, what's up? What are we going to do? And my intuition was like, don't make a goal. And I was like, what? I have to make a goal. And I just kept asking myself, like, well, why do I have to make a goal? And I'm like, well, because they tell you. And as soon as I know that they tell me something, I know it's something that's outside of myself, and it's like, not me. And so I thought about all the people that talk about goals and why you should set goals and whatever. And none of it felt like it was coming from inside me. It was like outside me. And when I tapped into inside me, I was like, no, like, I'm not setting a goal this
Right,
year.
right. I have a
So
question about that because could you speak a little to that? Because how did you discern the difference between that? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, like myself included. Like, how did you
Mhm.
know what's external and what's internal?
Oh, such a good question. So I think this is what intuition is. So I posted about intuition the other day and someone commented and said, well, it's really hard to tell what your intuition is based on a trauma response, and people can do things out of trauma or whatever. And yes, it can be really murky for sure. But I also think it can be super clear. So I'm just going to outline how to follow your intuition really quickly in like
All
a few
right.
steps. The first step is always to kind of ground yourself. So, do whatever kind of somatic or emotional process you want to do to regulate yourself, because a lot of times we're kind of overactivated or overstimulated. So, if you find that you're trying to create solutions for your business from a mind space, which means like thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and trying to like solve it, and you're overthinking and you can't kind of turn your brain off, that is never your intuition, ever, ever.
Mm, okay.
Um, it does not sound like that.
Like
And so when
overthinking
that
and
thinking
yeah.
happens, which
Mm-hmm.
is totally me too, that is exactly how my brain sounds like. I'm like, okay, how can I ground myself? So I might take some like really deep, slow breaths. I might meditate. I might do a guided meditation. I might listen to some peaceful music. For me, like my best grounding practice is always my breath. So I always go back to that little space in my house that I go to that's kind of quiet, and that it's in my closet. I literally go into my closet and lock my kids out and
So
sit
good.
on my yoga mat in my closet, and just chill for a few minutes. But I'll do some sort of like a grounding kind of practice. And then I might write out some of my thoughts just to kind of dump out what's there, because those kind of negative, heavier beliefs, anything that's coming from like, I should do this, or they told me to do this, or
Mm.
because all of those kind of outside beliefs. Well, this is what marketing should be like. This is what they say will get you wherever you want to go. And also even people's goals. Sometimes we accidentally take on somebody else's goal. We're like, well, I want to make 1 million. I want to make 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
When people that are making $1 million might not be enjoying it either. And so for me, I thought, yes, I do want to make money, but I also want to have an impact. I also want to serve. I also want to spend time with my family and nurture my most important relationships, because that to me is really enjoying my life. I want to travel. I want to homeschool. So as I'm listing all these things that I want to do, I'm like, it's okay if it is a little bit slower for me. It's okay if I don't just make $1 million my first year. So,
Right.
anyways, so I kind of was able to clear that out a little bit, but this is how I determine intuition. Intuition feels a few different ways. Intuition feels like peace. It feels calm. It feels kind of like that joyful enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like calm knowing, like that really grounded, like you just know. But it also feels like you're at the top of a roller coaster on like the sharpest drop, and you're about to drop down,
Oh
and it
no.
feels like you're going to vomit, but you also know that you want to do it. And so it doesn't always feel comfortable. Um,
Ooh.
but with that pukey feeling, it's not coming from like, it's not the same kind of fear. It's not like the fear that keeps me stuck in self doubt and confusion. It's more of a pukey, like, I know this is the right next step, but I'm actually really scared because it's kind of a big thing. I also know that that's my intuition. Um,
Mm.
so I have pitched myself on people's podcasts that were like huge, or like asked other people to be on my podcast, or totally, got rid of whatever business structure I was following and started something entirely different. I used to run a monthly membership for moms, and I stopped doing that, even though it was making money, because I just knew it wasn't the thing that I needed to do. Anyways, it made some really huge decisions within my business from that pukey feeling.
Oh
So that's
wow.
also intuition. But none of it is ever like overthinking or self doubt. And the key to intuition is self trust. And we all can easily tap into our intuition, but we don't trust ourselves. And I think
Right.
that's more of the issue than not feeling like we have intuition.
Right. Can you speak to that trust portion? Because that's so huge. Because, yeah, it's like, what if you do know, like, you are tapped into your intuition, you do know what you desire, and you have that pukey feeling, like, you know what you want to do, but then you
Mm-hmm.
might be skeptical or you might be fearful of implementing because maybe there's some failures in the past you went through or you don't trust yourself. Like, how do you navigate that, and how do you trust yourself?
I read this quote that literally made me in tears. There's a few quotes that I read that I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I just like cry. And this was one of them. And I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm not going to do it justice, but it's by Sue Monk Kid. And she said something along the lines of like, little girl, when did you stop listening to yourself? And at what point is yourself going to keep talking to yourself if you keep ignoring it? So along the lines of like, if we keep ignoring that inner voice that's inside of us, when is it going to stop calling? When is it going to stop giving us those nudges? When is it going to stop giving us those? Some people call them like God winks of like, this, your higher self speaking, and this is what you need to do. But if we continuously ignore it, it's really hard to access that again. I think this lack of self-trust comes from outsourcing our personal authority. And I think that comes from a couple things, but one is like the information age. So I think because we're so bombarded with information in an entirely different way than we were decades ago, that it's so easy to feel like everyone else is an expert on their thing. There's PhDs, there's science, and there's like religious experts, and there's all these experts, and we're like, well, they must know the answer, which means that I don't. So I'm going to like listen to them because they know my answer better than I know my answer. And if that's been our way, our mode for years, what we've been told by culture, society, church, community, all the things, then it's going to be really hard for us to tap into our own inner personal authority. So I think it's a practice that we build. I think it's like, I'll practice a belief along the lines of like, I'm open to receiving this belief. Like I understand it and I kind of get it. I'm not totally there, but like I'm open to this belief kind of happening. And so maybe that belief is like that I can trust me again, that I might actually be the authority in my life, that I might actually know, that my intuition might be kind of strong. I might be very intuitive. And just kind of like playing with them and teasing them out and giving yourself so much compassion, because trust is like a muscle that you build. It's like confidence and it's like decision making. Like all of these are muscles that we build, and it's not just going to come all at once. And I also think that sometimes we don't believe our intuition, or at least don't trust it, because it doesn't always turn out the way we want it to turn out.
Right.
And so I had a friend who was like, I know, like, but no, my intuition has steered me wrong so many times. And I'm like, no, it never steers you wrong. It always takes you down the path where you're going to learn and expand and grow the most. And if that's getting the outcome that you wanted, then that's going to be it. If it's not getting the outcome that you wanted because there's something more to learn and expand and grow, then that's where it's going to take you. So it'll always be down the growth path.
So you're saying sometimes even if you follow your intuition, like it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead you to where you want to go right away. Like sometimes it leads you to experiences you need to have in order for you to learn and get to where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had a launch in August, and it was the biggest launch I've ever had. It was a $30,000 launch, which is crazy.
Oh, nice.
It was like way bigger than I've ever had. And I just thought, wow, my intuition's finally like on the path, and like we're aligned, and we're like, we figured this out, like we got this. And then in January, launched the exact same thing in what I thought was the exact same way. And I literally got $0.
Oh,
zero clients, nobody signed up. And I was like, okay, intuition, like what is up? What am I supposed to be learning from this experience? Wow. And I think that's what intuition is like. I think it's less like structured. It's less like, like the bro marketing of like, you need to care about click rates, and you need to care about funnels and make them really complicated and have like create urgency, and like, what can you say to like overcome people's objections? That is not at all what my intuition ever has me sell like. It's very like organic. It's very like, this is me and this is who I am. And if you feel aligned with that, you're going to know. And you know the answer more than I know the answer. And so in all of these experiences, when things go really well and when things don't go really well, I'm take a minute to kind of like be disappointed and be like, okay, wow, that did not turn out the way I wanted. and then kind of reassess again. I did a lot of meditating like every single day after that for a long time. And then I was like, okay, now what? Like, what was I supposed to learn from that? How am I going to pivot? What's next? And just like keep moving on, keep doing the next step. I haven't totally learned what that was in January, like what it was that I needed to learn, but I did make some pivots and changes within my program. So I'm like, maybe this is what it was. I'm not sure. It also could have been more personally because I had some friends going through some pretty difficult things that I was supporting them in. So maybe I just needed that time and that space for that breather to not be working at all. And so that could have been why also. So I don't know if we necessarily always need to know the why, but I do think believing and trusting that our intuition is still guiding us, even when things get really murky and muddy, is just so powerful and has helped guide me to where I am right now, which who knows where I am because I don't have goals right now. I should say though, I am manifesting things. So I'm still working on manifestation and like, this is something I'm working towards. And like, I still have directions. It's not like I'm totally directionless, but I'm totally throwing out the rule book around what goals need to be, because if writing a goal and setting it down and then you not making that goal is going to make you beat yourself up again. And if writing down a goal is going to make you feel like there's pressure and there's heaviness, it's not going to help you achieve the goal. So if the way that you're thinking about goals is not supportive to you, there is no point. There's 0 point. There's negative point than in actually setting it that way. And that's how my goals had been in the past. And I'm sure I could have like rethought about it and changed my mindset around goals, but I was like, no, like goals have typically been very masculine. And when I think of masculine, I'm saying masculine and feminine energy, not like male, female. And masculine is very structured and numbers and data and organized and all of that. And feminine is very like flow and very intuitive and very emotional. And I had been doing everything in a really structured way. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try it this other way and see if this other way feels better to me. So I'm not saying that you don't have to set goals ever. You can if you want to. You can keep your goals if they're working for you, but I'm always reassessing, like, is my way of thinking about this serving me or is it not? And who told me that I had to think about it this way? And if it ever comes from outside of myself, culture, society, others, experts, I always question it even more because I'm like, wait a second, like what is inside of me saying?
Oh my God, I love that so much. And I do have to say, honestly, Crystal, I feel like it's kind of like dating, how you said the thing about goals, right? Because I see this a lot. Like when I see women setting a goal of who they want to date, and it's like they have this guy in their mind, like they never find him, and it feels so much pressure and it's frustrating. But when I think about me and my husband, like literally I had no intention to get together with my husband at the time. Like literally what happened like 12 years ago is we were drinking vodka in my best friend's like grandmother's house. We were like in freaking like college, you know, and then yeah, we were just friends at the time. And then I drank vodka, and then I looked at him like, oh, he's kind of cute, and then it just like went from there. But I had no idea that it was gonna happen. So I love that you're staying open and that you're kind of like not thinking. I think that's the thing about goals too, is that it's like we think things are supposed to be a certain way, so it kind of limits us. But when you release yourself from that pressure, it actually opens you up and expands you to so many more opportunities that you didn't even realize was there. So I think that your approach to goals is amazing. And I also want to say I appreciate how real you are about intuition. Like, because I don't know, I feel like with intuition, there's also like this pressure of like, okay, because I followed my intuition, now I'm supposed to have results. But I love that you said that it's okay that the results don't always come right away.
And I did get the results, just in a totally different way. Like I got the results in like, I'm able to calm my mind so much more now. I'm able to decipher my inner triggers more and learn from them more. I'm able to be still and be by myself and be with myself more than I've ever been able to before. So even though my results didn't manifest in the way that I wanted them to, AKA money and business growth, they definitely contributed to personal growth. And for me, that is almost even more satisfying or helpful because I don't want to just have this business that I have that's successful. I want to have a life that's successful. I want to have an abundant life full of like time off and travel and amazing, amazing, glorious relationships with everybody around me. Like, there's so much more to a whole full life than just business growth.
Oh my
And
God, so good.
yeah, so I do feel like all of those things I mentioned were successful, but for more reasons than just business.
Oh my gosh, that's so good because you're right. Like I think we get so focused on entrepreneurs as like the money is the only result and every other thing
Mhm.
doesn't matter. But I see this so much. I'm seeing this with entrepreneurs that I would follow on Instagram who make millions, but then they like literally are going on a sabbatical indefinitely now because they got burned
Yes.
out. And I see this more and more, and I'm like,
Yep.
it's not about the money. Like it's about living a whole life that you actually want to participate in, that you actually enjoy.
That you want to be in. My kids' favorite YouTuber. I've never watched any of his YouTube videos, but my kids love them and they use them a lot for like science projects and stuff. They were like, "Mom, we just watched this YouTube video and he's like going off YouTube because he's having like a mental breakdown." And I was like, "Ooh, I want to watch that episode." It's the only episode I've watched of theirs. And
Oh my
they just
gosh.
showed little clips of him and his team kind of talked about the rest, but he is in huge depression and just
Oh.
hugely burned out from this constant pull and pressure to like create more and make it bigger and make it better and all of these things that he's been in for years that literally left him in a complete breakdown in every way. And I think that is exactly the example of what can happen in our lives and in our business when we have that part of our business be the only thing we're trying to find success in,
Mm-hmm.
instead of mental health, emotional wellness, relationships. We want a holistic version of success. And I think so much of it is redefining what success actually looks like. Nobody ever says anything besides like their numbers. Like, this is how much I work and this is how much I make. And you're like, okay, well, how much do you enjoy your life? And what is the quality of your
Ooh.
relationships? And what's your emotional wellness like? And how well do you regulate yourself? Like, that is how I want to measure my success. I don't want to just have it be this one number of how much money I'm making.
Oh my God, girl, I'm like snapping right now. This is so good. I'm like, yes, queen. Oh my God, but this is so good. And for anyone who wants to ask Crystal some questions, I'm leaving the floor open if you want to share any aha moments or anything like that. But Crystal, literally, this has been so good, especially for me too. Like I'm just like, I love everything you said here. I love how you talked about redefining your success and really how intuition is more about doing what being more in alignment with yourself, so you just enjoy your life. You live a life that you actually uh
What
want. Right?
you want to be
You
in.
want
I
it.
remember hiring my first intuitive business coach, and my husband's like, "What does this mean?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I'm like asking her these questions. I'm like, "Well, what do you think about my click rates? And what do you think about my open rates? And what can I do to change this?" And she's like, "Oh, no, no, that's not what we do here." She's like, "I can find you somebody if that's what you want." She's like, "We tap into like you and inner you and what you want to do." And this was like in 2021, in the summer of 2021. And I was like, "What does that even mean?" And I worked with her for like a month. She had like this month-long program. And I just, that whole month, I kept feeling like I need to just be like taking time off and spending more time in nature and spending more time with my kids. And I was like, it's weird that I hired this coach, honey, because like I feel like the answers I'm getting are like not to work, but I hired a business coach to tell me not to work. And that was like the
That
very
was
like
not
my very
expected.
first beginnings of knowing what intuition was, and then kind of uncovering it month after month. Like, wait, my intuition's actually really strong, and I know how to tap into my intuition, and it's guided me in so many beautiful paths over the last so it's almost been 2 years that I've really dove into masculine, feminine energy, intuition, and all of that,
Oh
and
my gosh.
changed pretty much everything in my business and my life. So it's been a ride. And also, yes, I will answer any questions. So
And
Heather, if you're listening and you have a question, because I see you down in the audience, if you want to ask a question, you can.
And Chris, I just want to say, just because I've known you for a bit, and we met through the life coach school, and I just want to say, I really do feel like you're embodying someone who is intuitive, because like your energy is just, everyone can feel your energy. Like we meet together in the Life Coaches and Healers Exchange, which is a networking group that me and my friend Rachel made, and Crystal always shows up. She's amazing. And her energy is
Mm-hmm.
just like, you could just feel her energy in the room. And I just like love that about you, that you exude that. Like, there's absolutely like, there's like not this pressure. It's just like, you just look like you love what you're doing. You just are passionate about what you do. And honestly, that's what attracts people to you. It's just that energy. And so we have to remember, like, that's what helps connect humans to one another. It's energy, you know, and that's the thing we got to cultivate and pay attention to and nurture in our business and just like life, you know. But that energy is so important. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, and I love that you embody that example.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely feel like my energy has really shifted in the last couple of years since doing this, and I've realized how much downtime I need in order to have that. So that's also been interesting because I don't think I connected those two things before.
Right, right. And it's okay to allow the time you need to take it's okay to listen to those intuitive nudges from your body, to take a break, to rest if you need to, because like what happened with Crystal, like it's what can shift everything for you in your life, your relationships, and your business. And Crystal, for anyone who wants to stay connected with you, where can people find you online? What kind of things are you offering to help people?
Yeah, I'll mention that too. And I want to mention one more thing. And also, Heather, if you want to say anything, just unmute yourself and interrupt us because we just keep talking. Um, but one last thing that I want to mention that I didn't say is that our emotions are messages. They're ways that our mind connects with our body. Their emotions are like our best intuitive nudges. And
Yes.
so, listening to whatever emotion it is that we have and asking it, what message do you have for me? So if I'm feeling shame or guilt or frustration or anger, like, what are you telling me right now? What meaning am I attaching to this emotion? What does it feel like? What is it communicating to me? If I were having a conversation with it, what would it say? And that can be a really great way to kind of start out learning to listen to intuition more. Um, Okay, so I am the parenting coach on Instagram, the.parenting.coach. The two places that I hang out the most are Instagram and my podcast. It's the Parenting Coach Podcast with Crystal. Super new to LinkedIn, but plan on hanging out here a little bit too. And let's see, I have a Find Your Parenting Personality quiz that you can come check out on my Instagram if you want to hop on my email list. I just yesterday opened up 3 individual coaching spots where I'm coaching anybody on anything. So this can be couples coaching, intuitive business coaching, parenting coaching, anything you want. And then I have a program that I run twice a year called Parent School, which is a group program. And I also have a retreats that I put on. So my next retreat is in May, and they're in fairy tale playhouse cabins in the mountains in Alberta, Canada. They're
Oh my God,
amazing.
so
We do
fun.
inner child healing, meditation, yoga, coaching, all the things. And I'm going to do another one in September. And then I also have a mindset journal. So if you want to help kind of guide yourself through a daily practice of both emotion work and thought work, that's what that is for too. And my website is www.coachcrystal.ca. And if you add a /shop, you'll find all of the things that I just talked about.
Oh my gosh, Crystal, that's so amazing. I love all the things you do to help people. I love that you're an example of someone who leans into the intuition and really just shows like you can trust yourself. It's safe to trust yourself. You can be a person who has intuition, a strong intuition, and it's okay. And thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom today and for being on the show. I have learned so much, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you. I'm so glad to do this. It's like fun doing this little audio LinkedIn thing. I think it's awesome.
I know, I love it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining in. I'll place the replay in the audio event page, and I'll see you all next time. But thank you for joining.
Thank you.